What's up, y'all? This is Maurice Delk. Hey, son, can you mute your mic for a minute while you get interviewed? Mute your mic. That's all you got to do. And I'll tell you, come back on. Okay, thank you. I appreciate you. Hey, you know what? Thank you, everybody, for coming on here. Let me do my mic check real quick. And let me know everybody I sound real fine, okay? Because this is going to be good, man. I got my son, who's a liberal, and me as a conservative, and we're going to have a nice convo, you dig? And so let me go right to this hold on, settings real quick. Make sure my mic is cut up, because I don't want everybody out talking me on my shit. And my son know who I am. I'm gonna talk real loud. Ain't nobody ought to talk me on my shit. Okay, that's how we do it. Okay, we're gonna do this. And how you doing, son? We got Mark Delk in the house. How you doing, son? Before we do the cam up. We're gonna talk right here, man. Are you ready to cam up? Let me know. Could you hear me, son? Let me unmute your mic. I don't think son, unmute your mic right now.
Sorry, I thought I was talking. I thought I was talking. My bad.
No, it's okay. You thought you were talking, man.
I'm gonna keep my camera
up before I go ahead.
I'll keep my camera off for a little bit.
No, it's fine. I don't mind because it's a podcast. So we got Mark Delk in the house. And I'm gonna ask you, Mark Delk. We got him right here. So Mark Delk, I'm gonna dig this here, man. So what do you consider yourself in the movement? Are you a liberal? Are you a third party? Let everybody know who you is. Tell me your name first before you do
it. Okay. Well, I'm sure you've mentioned my name many times on this show, and I've met, some of your followers. But yeah, my name is Mark. I'm Maurice's son. And yeah, I would say that we definitely, our beliefs definitely differ politically.
Yes, it does.
So you asked me, what do I consider myself as, right?
Yeah. Are you a right winger? I mean, left winger? Or are you a progressive? I don't know what you is. Let everybody know what you is.
So I regard myself as a progressive. I would say on the political spectrum, I'm probably further to the left than people would like or are used to. Yeah.
Okay. Do you consider yourself a far left winger or in the middle? Let us know. We don't care because I consider myself a far right winger, so it don't matter.
Well, I mean, in today's, polarized political, era, we all, I guess, have our different perceptions of, how people identify politically. I would say most people will consider me a far left winger. However, I would categorize myself as a progressive who believes in, things like workers' rights.
Yes, we'll get to that later. Workers' right. We'll get to that later. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I just stand for a lot of, I guess, issues that, like my stance on a lot of issues would definitely put me further left on the political spectrum.
Okay, and please share this with people, like that you originally was a right wing in the beginning. You wasn't a Republican in the beginning, wasn't you?
Right. So as of now, I'm 27 years old. Turned 27 on Monday, so I just had a birthday.
Happy birthday, Marquise.
Yeah. So I would say that yes, at the beginning of my political journey, I started off as a conservative, particularly when I was a junior maybe a junior. Maybe I was a junior.
In high
I think
school,
I was
right?
yeah, in high school. So that's when my political journey really started, was in high school. I was a
Okay,
junior.
interesting, man. Interesting.
And I took AP. I took AP American Government. Yeah. And I think that class sparked my interest in politics. So I just became interested in how our government works. I became interested in the different
Oh,
chambers of,
nice. Okay, good.
Congress, and what our legislatures do in our states.
Do you want to run for
I
office
just
one day?
became no.
Okay, keep
Too
going. I just
shy.
asked you a question. Keep going.
Yeah. But yeah, I would say at the start of my political journey, I was definitely a conservative. I was definitely in love with Ronald Reagan. I
Oh
saw
yeah, so
him.
you was a Reagan conservative.
Yeah,
This dude
absolutely. I
right
saw
here.
him. Yeah, I told you, Dad, I wasn't lying. You can ask. Well, you can't ask my grandma now because she passed away. But even my
Yeah.
grandma knew about my conservative, views. But yeah, I started off with extremely conservative views, and don't take this comment the wrong way, but I think it's because I didn't know much about the world at the time. I was absolutely, like I said, I was new to I was new to politics. I didn't know
Yeah.
really anything about how taxation worked, how our government worked, and how federal fund, all those things. I was completely
Okay.
clueless. So I just, because I saw, I think because Obama was president, right? When I was
Yeah.
way back when I was in high school, Obama was president,
And you
right?
weren't even old enough to vote yet.
Huh?
And you weren't old enough to vote yet.
Nope, I
Correct.
wasn't of legal age, but I was actually,
Okay.
even though I wasn't of legal age to vote, I was actually like intrigued by the 2016 election and the candidates that were running, because I knew Trump was running, of course.
Yeah.
I knew Bernie Sanders was running. I knew Hillary was running. And
Okay.
mind you, Dad, I've told you numerous times that I
Okay.
do not like Hillary Clinton. I'm as liberal as it gets. And I
Okay.
think
Okay.
she is just the absolute worst. She's definitely what I would consider a corrupt politician.
Okay.
But here's the thing that
Okay.
I and millions of others thought about Hillary Clinton in 2016. I viewed her as the lesser of the two evils, and I'm sure you all have heard that many times. I viewed her as the
Yeah.
lesser of the two evils, so I saw her as the more viable alternative than Trump. I felt that she was
Okay.
more, just more qualified just based on her political experience. And again, I
Okay.
want to reiterate that I am not a Hillary fan.
But I'm
I
gonna ask
had
you this, son. I'm gonna ask you this before you get
but
to.
I felt like because Trump was the other alternative, and third party was pretty much, I felt like the voting third party would be would be pretty much a wasted vote.
Yeah, I
I
agree with you on
casted
that,
my
son.
vote so I casted my vote for Hillary instead.
Instead, but do you know the all? Are you aware of the evil stuff that Hillary done with
Absolutely,
with Haiti? The
a
Haiti.
lot, a lot
Do
of
you think
corruption,
it's many
but guess
Americans?
what? a lot a lot of corruption, but guess what, that exists on the right too. It's not just, I mean, that's the thing, like, and I'm not trying to
Okay.
I'm not trying to start, an argument about
No,
Trump's,
no, 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 no.
character,
Son,
or I'm
I
not
don't
trying
care.
to assassinate Trump's character,
Son, if you
but
don't like Trump, talk about it. This is where we at, man. You can have TDS over here. I don't care.
TDS, really?
Bring it, man. Bring it. Because come on,
I'm
son.
nervous,
You call
man.
me.
I'm not.
Why you
I know
nervous?
I talk. Listen, here's the thing. You're my dad, so I'm much more comfortable having these political discussions with you.
Pretend
But
like no one else watching right now. It's
right,
me and
you're
you.
right. Pretend
Talk
like
like you on
everybody
the
is
phone right
invisible.
now. Because they will understand. Talk on the phone, man. Ain't nobody attacking you over here. Just do it.
No, nobody. That's not the problem. I'm just nervous. That's all.
Oh, okay, because you
I
were in
mean,
front of a big crowd.
nervous to talk about Trump's character. And that's really not what I came on here for.
Okay, you didn't come here to
It
talk about
wasn't
Trump's
to.
character.
Yeah, I mean, it was to just talk about just not only the rhetoric that he uses, but that I feel fuels a lot of hatred and division in this country, but also his policies that I'm concerned about. I wanted to talk about, just mainly his policies,
Okay, his policy. Okay, I'm gonna ask you one
So,
thing. Big thing. I'm gonna ask you. What's
yes.
your opinion and your
hmm
facts on the big, beautiful bill? You can talk about this right now. I don't care, son.
Yeah. So I'm just going to talk about the things about that bill that I feel are, I guess, number one, most important to me, and number two, um, the most important aspects of the bill that I feel are very harmful for Americans.
Okay.
So I'm going to start off by saying that I don't I don't like the fact that the bill proposes, significant cuts to Medicaid, because
Huh?
that's going to affect. Did you hear what I just said?
I just said this. I'm not arguing with you. I was listening.
So I said that the bill proposes significant cuts to Medicaid, right?
Yes.
So we know that's going to affect millions of people who rely on this program for their healthcare needs. And on top of that, a lot of rural areas in this country voted for Trump. Let me make that clear. A lot of rural areas voted for Trump. And guess what? The rural hospitals are going to be hit hard the most from this bill making significant cuts to Medicaid. That's going to potentially lead to closures of hospitals, as well as,
So
reduce
you
access. Can I finish? as
okay?
well
Okay.
as,
I'm just saying. I'm sorry.
as
Let you
well
finish.
as reduce access to medical care in areas that need it the most. So, essentially, one or the main problem with this bill, in my opinion, is the significant cuts to Medicaid. And like I said, rural hospitals are going to be hit, the hardest. And rural areas voted for Trump, and yet again, I feel like these people voted against their own interests.
Okay.
But you can talk.
No. What I'm saying is, do you think the big beautiful bill is going to shut down all the old folks that in a retirement home? They gonna get no money. You really think they gonna get no money? That's what I'm saying. Actually,
What do you mean, no money?
no. You said it's gonna cut old folks Social Security. So you
No, I
really
didn't say anything about Social Security.
see, no.
Let me clarify.
No. You deflected, son. You
I'm
deflected.
not deflecting. Your followers
See,
heard me
I'm
clearly
gonna
say,
ask you something, and you
"Dad, you're my
deflected.
dad. You're not supposed to be doing this. Don't talk over me, okay?"
Okay, son. Go ahead.
You didn't hear me clearly enough, apparently. Your
Okay,
followers
let
just
you
heard
talk.
me. Your followers did not hear me say anything about Social Security. I said the bill proposes significant cuts to Medicaid. Medicaid is different than Social Security, Dad. I thought you knew that.
I did, but you let me tell you. Sometimes I feel like you try to salt my intelligence on things, but that's
What? No, I feel like you're trying to insult mine. But
not I'm
anyway,
trying to salt your intelligence. You deflected over here.
anyway. But I'm sure your followers disagree with what I just said, but I mean, just know that millions of people feel exactly the same way that I do about the bill affecting Medicaid.
Yeah. So how's it going to affect Medicaid?
I just explained it.
You didn't
It-
explain enough.
it-
You said Medicaid is
okay,
going to.
I said what?
Okay, what is Medicaid going to affect?
I just told you that Medicaid is going to affect millions of people who rely on this program for their healthcare needs. And I also explained why rural hospitals are going to be hit, particularly hard hit the most, and that's going to lead to closures And like I said, reduce access to medical care in areas that need it the most.
Mm. Mm. Okay, hold on. One of my friends gonna put up here right here. Blessed community. He said, I just got into it with Zoe Lee. Zoe Lee is a conservative from Chicago. You know what about Chicago conservative? He said, there's no such thing as a black female conservative. They are all clout conservatives and communities and feminists in disguise. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to put that up there. Woo! A lot of stuff, man, going on, bro. So son, go ahead, keep talking. My bad. Marquise, can you keep talking, bro?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was talking.
No, I had put the mic on. I
Um,
was just putting it over here and let you talk for us. You know, sometimes I chime in for a second. Go ahead.
and I mean, and Jim, just the problem, I guess the gist of the big beautiful bill is like Trump's goal is to reduce the national debt, which I get. But here's the thing. If they actually wanted to tackle the debt and the deficit, then they will be talking about broad plans to reform Social Security and Medicaid so that they can make them more affordable and sustainable. But Trump is not doing that. He's not doing that at all. And then I just feel like he continues to lie to the American people every single day, and
So he's lying.
millions of his followers eat it up because, like I've told you before, Dad, the whole MAGA movement just feels like one big cult. I'm sorry if I offended
Wow.
anybody, but that's how I feel. His supporters just mindlessly follow Trump, or should I say blindly follow him,
Okay, talk
because
how you talk, man.
they don't see anything wrong that this man does. So I mean, honestly, I came on this panel just to share my views because
Yes. Share it.
share my dissenting views, because I feel like that's important in today's divided, polarized, political
Yeah.
era. But at the same time, it's exhausting. Like most of the time, Dad, I don't like to be on this panel because I know that I'm really not going to get anywhere.
Right.
Um,
We're not gonna get anywhere. Let's be honest.
but
But we can have a conversation.
no, I'm just letting you know, because I mean, people are angry, and rightfully so. They're angry with Trump, and the things that he's doing to our government. And I just feel like his supporters will never understand why we're angry. Instead, we get typecast as having Trump derangement syndrome, far left wingers, brainwashed leftists, all of
Yeah.
these
Okay. Yeah.
terms that they like to use to describe us. So that's why I hardly come on this panel, because I know that's what your followers probably think of me when they hear me speak. But I feel like Trump is extremely dangerous for this country, and I stand by that belief. And I felt that way for the past 9 years. And at
Yeah.
27 years old, you're not changing my mind about Trump.
Son,
I'm
I'm
telling
not
you that right
man.
now.
Why you gotta talk over me? I'm just saying this, man.
Well, you talked over me before, so.
Okay, keep on talking. This show, look, I'll give you the dance floor. Keep talking, man.
And I did not, whomever is in the chat, and that's the problem with Trump supporters. I'm just gonna call you out. I don't know who you are.
Oh, here we go.
Or something. I
Get him,
contradicted
son.
myself. Can you elaborate on how how is Biden dangerous? That's the kind of shit I'm talking about. And by the way, Trump is screwing over rural hospitals with his cuts to Medicaid. So explain how Obamacare screwed over rural hospitals.
Okay, son, do you watch a lot of CNN?
I do not watch a lot of CNN, but what I do know is that a lot of news sources are very biased. And wait a minute? Why did you ask me that question? You set me up with that question.
I did. You know me. I'm cool like that. I got you. I told you. I'm cold like that. I'm gonna get you, son. You're my son, but I'm gonna get you. You better get your ass out of it. You got some Mark Delp, you got some explaining to do. Next. He got some explaining to do. Everybody don't got explaining to do. Them explain themselves. Mark Delp, explain yourself.
Do you watch Fox News?
I didn't watch Fox News in years. I'm Infowars and Newsmax. So I got you. I don't watch Fox News. Okay. But anyway, I got an easier question for you, man. I don't watch Fox News. You don't watch this,
Yeah.
so but
Yeah.
let people know about the how do black what's your take about why black people support Trump? Remember I told you that black people in Chicago and New York. Do you think it's sellouts because they support Trump? Do you think anybody
Here's how I feel about black Trump supporters. First of all, we all know that in the last election, Trump gained a fairly large percentage of black voters. Yes, over 80% still voted for Kamala Harris, but a lot of black voters flocked to Trump, in the last election. And although I don't, obviously I don't agree with them politically, I kind of understand why they voted for Trump.
Okay, explain it. Why you understand
why.
That. You got some.
And you said this many times to me that black people are displeased with the direction that the Democratic Party is going.
Yes, sir.
And here's the thing: I'm a far left progressive. Okay, I'm a far left progressive, but even I acknowledge that the Democratic Party is fucked. So is the GOP, but the Democratic Party. And I'm probably even more angry with the Democratic Party than the GOP, to be honest with you right now, because we have Nancy Pelosi still in office doing what she does and trying to block AOC and other young people from taking or gaining power. And I just feel like a lot of older Democrats are not helping us because they don't realize that Obama was a once in a lifetime politician. And what I mean by that is Democrats are convinced that they can find another Obama. They cannot do that unless they change their party's platform. Obama had a great, even if you disagree with his platform, he communicated his platform loud and clear. And in fact, a lot of conservative leaning independents voted for Obama. We know this. We know a lot of Trump voters voted for Obama. I know this.
I agree with you on that, son. I definitely agree with you.
That's the thing. Obama, and again, as much as you disagree with him, you have to admit that he did a really good job at building his coalition.
Yes, he did it. Yeah, his coalition. He had a good job for that.
And Democrats are not doing a very good job in maintaining their coalition. Right now, they're catering to the suburban, upper middle class white moms, right? And not just them, but both parties right now are catering to the rich, which is a huge problem, a very huge problem. Wealthy donors have essentially bought both the Democratic and Republican parties. So to answer your question, I understand that Democrats feel betrayed by the Democrat. I'm sorry, I had a little bit to drink. My bad.
Go ahead, son.
I understand I understand why some black people are displeased with the direction the Democratic Party is going because they feel left behind by the Democratic Party. They have felt ignored by the Democratic Party for decades because a lot of people in our community are still living in poverty, right? Are still attending schools, with very poor, that have very poor test scores and other bad student outcomes. Our community is not where it should be in most parts of the country. So I understand why black people who make up a large portion of the Democrats, coalition would be would feel disappointed that they haven't gotten much from the Democrats. So now they're gravitating to the Republicans. They think the Republicans have their back. And I'm here to tell them that they're dead wrong. Neither party truly has our back. But
we got Lando in the house. He might pull up in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but I just feel like neither party really has the black community's best interest at heart. But I mean, I feel like when it comes to civil rights and or equal rights in general,
Yeah,
Republicans are just the worst offenders when it comes to equality because they, I mean, now Trump and his administration are targeting DEI initiatives, which we can talk about, by the way,
yeah,
because I don't see anything wrong with DEI initiatives. Oh,
yeah. Yeah, pull up. Orlando, pull up in, man. This is a good conversation, son. I like this conversation. You hold your own. And please hold your own. Shit. All right. What's up, Orlando? We got Orlando Owens in the house. Shout out to you, brother. You see that, son? I don't hear him. I don't know if he's still there. Can you send the link? Okay, I'm gonna figure that out. Hold on, Orlando. Hey, Marquise, can you hear me? Okay, hold on. My son gonna put back up. We having problems over here. I'm gonna send to Orlando actually his phone. All right. Hey, Marquise is having technical difficulties over here. Okay, there go Orlando right here. There you go. There you go. I'm waiting for my son to come up. My kids come up, pull up. Hold on, give me a second. Make sure he pull up.
What's going on, Brother Mo?
Hey, what's up, Orlando? How you doing?
Man, I'm good. I've been seeing you on Facebook streets and social media streets. You're looking good, man. You're looking good.
I'm trying, bro. I'm trying to get my son pull up. Because he told me today, I wanna go at it with your conservative friends over here. But there you go. Okay. My phone's back. Be right back. Okay, he'll be back. Okay. Yeah, he's up there. He said he wanted to stream. I wasn't gonna do a stream tonight, but he said he wanted to talk. He even said, I want to get back at Atlanta Owens too. When he told me last time I saw him, I really want to go at it with him. He told me that. So yes, it's so funny how my son tried out, but it's all right.
It's always a good place when there is dialogue and conversations
Yes.
to be had.
Yeah.
We don't always have to agree, but I think it's important that we can try to understand, or at least give space for people to present their
He
position.
said that. Okay, tell what you said. Maybe I misinterpreted. Get up, son.
Is
Come
he
on.
back up?
There you go. There you go. He's up. He's up. I love it. There we go. All right, let's do this. There you go. There you go. He's up. He's up. What's up, son?
can you hear me?
All right. Let's do an Orlando Owens. Y'all back up. Y'all back up again.
Yeah. So when did I say that I wanted to? Wait, what?
No.
You muted.
Remember last time y'all was talking. You said y'all had a disagreement. You had disagreement.
Oh yeah, we did. Yeah, we had a good conversation.
Yeah, that's all I want to say. Go ahead.
Hey. I don't remember what we were talking about.
Oh, okay. But maybe I can refresh your memory. Y'all can talk right now. So,
How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
I'm blessed, man. I'm blessed. I do recall us having a conversation, and it was really
You do.
I do. It was really civil, and it was really good. Although we did have some disagreements, but it was definitely a good conversation to have.
Yeah.
To see and hear different positions. Although I don't know if I changed your position. I know you didn't change mine, but at least we were able to have a conversation without things becoming ugly and so
Right.
disagreeable. And I think I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So you're having so what do you feel about the Trump administration now, less than a year in, from the trade, from the defense position to the big beautiful bill, to kind of where we are with the federal government's budget. So how are you doing right now?
Well, I don't know if you were in the chat or anything like that when I was talking about the big beautiful bill to my dad. I was talking about the bill proposing, significant cuts to Medicaid. Did you hear? You didn't hear anything like that,
I
or?
heard some of those concerns, and I think one of the big positions that we have to understand or try to comprehend that at our core, as most conservatives, and I'm not saying President Trump is the most conservative Republican ever, and in many aspects he isn't, right, but he has more of a common sense approach, and I think that attracts conservative thinking people because we kind of look at things in black and whites, squares and triangles, and say, okay, does this fit or doesn't fit? What a lot of conservative Republicans, including my boss, who I don't speak for, U.S. Senator Ron Johnson, I'm speaking for myself, we want to see more control in the states. So if we can transfer more money back to the states, have the states send less money to the federal government, the government, as we believe it, the government that is most closest to you is the best government, governed oversight government you can have.
All right, go ahead, son.
Yeah, I hear you.
So hopefully with these cuts, the states never have to send the federal government the money they're sending for those programs. Keep the money in the states. The states have a better understanding of the needs of the local people. Would you agree? Okay, if let's say it this way, if you had to send $1 out of your pocket to government, would you want that money, that dollar you sent to the state of Wisconsin government or the federal government? Who you think has a better
Well, as
understanding?
long as the federal government is using my money, to fund important, things like our roads, our schools, and whatnot, then yeah, I wouldn't mind the federal government having their hands in my pockets.
So, do you believe the federal government have a better understanding of Wisconsin, education or roads or whatever the case may be, or do you think Wisconsinites have a better understanding of what we need in our state?
Well, okay, I don't know if this answers your question, but I feel like so you just told me that you feel like, or that Trump wants to basically give the states more control, right? Like over our federal funds, and is that what you said, or?
Correct. So most conservatives like what we call a federalist type of position, that the power remains with the states. The federal government was always meant to be the kind of second fiddle. It was never meant to be the main act. It was the second act. It was the opening act. The big act was the states. The states are the ones who have a better understanding of what those local states and peoples in those need.
Yeah. Okay, I don't know if this answers your question, but we all know about the the U.S. Department of Education being targeted right now. And I think we talked about that, Orlando, right, in our last conversation.
We talked about a myriad of things, but I'll go with it. Let's say yes, we did. Okay.
Okay, so I think one thing I didn't mention in that conversation, because you said something interesting just now. You said that the how did you word it? And you worded it so well, and I just feel like I need to bring it up. You said something about you asked me about the federal government, me giving $1 to the federal government, but before that, you said something really important. I wanted to
Well,
talk about
I
it.
mean, it all stems back to local control.
Right.
Local
Yes,
control.
you were talking about local control. I don't always trust local control, and I just wanted to explain why. So there are some red states, right? Like, Texas is a red state. Mississippi, Alabama. We know these are red states. My concern is with them targeting the U.S. Department of Education. My concern, I guess, as a special education teacher, is the role that the U.S. Department of Education plays in supporting our students with disabilities. Now, I'm not saying that once states have more control or oversight of our schools, they're just gonna get rid of special ed. That's not what I'm saying. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that I'm concerned about the federal special education law being enforced, which is IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. I'm concerned about these red states not upholding that law like they should by providing students with disabilities the accommodations and other supports that they need. And a lot of special ed advocates are concerned. That's why a lot of special ed advocates are concerned about, the U.S. Department of Education, being targeted because of that law, the special education law possibly not being enforced, by these red states. Because what I also know is that a lot of these red states are giving more of our tax dollars to these charter and religious schools that don't support our students with disabilities like they should. Some do, but the vast majority don't. And so with the states having more control or oversight of our schools, I'm concerned about that. That's all. And I could be wrong because I'm not a politician, you know.
Well,
But
I would just say, we so Tony Evers won Wisconsin.
right.
In Wisconsin, we have a special needs scholarship and special needs
Yep.
funding for school choice and
Mhm.
vouchers. So if you're concerned about red states not doing, what they should, shouldn't you be concerned the same concern about blue states not doing what they ought to
The
be doing?
blue states do a great job at supporting and funding public education.
Well, so the question that goes to, for me, is your level of trust. Okay, so
Right.
you want the federal government to be the big bad boogie bear to make the states do what they ought to be doing. And if I can take the same position that conservatives believe that blue states are terrible and they need the federal government to come in to regulate them. At the
Hmm.
end of the day, it comes down that elections have consequences, and that there should be I think first and foremost, there should be a right sizing of government, that the powers should be more in the states. If the state is a blue state and your governor is terrible on the policies you believe he or she should be better at, then you need to move. In the end of the day, the power should be for the states. Now, I will say there is a role for the federal government. The initial Constitution and the founders gave a very limited role what the federal government should be doing, and that's protecting our country, primarily the military. Almost anything else that is not enumerated in the Constitution was meant for the states to figure out, and that's the concern. If we are going to give more power to the people, and that's a common not common theme, power to the people, then that's a conservative position. Give the power to the people.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I hear you.
I mean, again, as a local educator in the state of Wisconsin, you would think, in my opinion, that
Mhm.
you have a very good grasp of the needs of the students here in Wisconsin. You may not know what the students in Philadelphia, California,
Mhm.
Florida, but you
Okay.
know what Milwaukee and Wisconsin students
Right.
need because you're right here.
Right.
So why send the money for education to DC for people who don't know what the needs are here locally and say, well, yeah, I'm comfortable with them giving the money versus keeping the money right here in
Mhm.
Wisconsin
Mhm.
Yeah.
Verse, you said versus keeping the money here in Wisconsin.
versus keeping the money right here in Wisconsin. Never sending education money to the federal government, i.e., eliminating the federal Department of Education, because in every state you have
I
a
just.
DP, you have a DPI.
Mhm. Right.
Most government, and this is where government becomes redundant and very expensive. Most state governments are reflective of the federal government. For every Department of Education, you have a DPI, Department of Public Instructions, locally in the state. For every DNR, you have an EPA. We're replicating government unnecessarily. Either you let these local departments do their job or not. We're replicating we're duplicating government, and we're causing the taxpayers to pay
Mhm.
more money unnecessarily.
Mhm.
Do you
Yeah.
support Jill
Mhm.
Underling being a DPI, superintendent?
You said Jill Underly.
Yeah, for being
What about?
DPI superintendent.
Yeah. What about her?
Do you support her?
I voted for her.
Okay, so then why do you need to have a federal Department of Education if you support her position, what
Because
she's
I.
doing?
I also feel like the U.S. Department of Education, I mean, has worked. We also have to worry about student loans and higher ed grants. The
So who
I mean,
controls the UW system as far as the costs? That's the local government, not the
right,
federal
right.
government.
Okay, yeah.
So again, the money is still there. So
Hmm.
the way that this conversation is being, not this one, but the national
Yeah,
debate is being framed as if you cut the federal Department of Education, then the
yeah.
money disappears. That's wrong.
Hmm.
The
You
money
think that's
stays
wrong?
with the state and let the state decide how they want to do with their money and their,
And that's
you
Yeah.
the
know,
problem. And that's the problem right there. I mean, some of these states will just spend their, their federal money on useless things.
well, again, we're trying to eliminate the federal government
I mean, not
involvement.
federal. Sorry about that.
We're trying to eliminate the federal, bureaucracy and the input of the federal government and let the local people. If you believe in Jill Underlink to run education for Wisconsin, then the natural assumption is that will give her more money to do what you want to see her to get done.
Mm-hmm.
If you believe in what she's doing, you will want her to have more money, right? To do more things she wants to do. So then why send Wisconsin money to DC?
Well, that's a good question. To be honest with you, that's a good question for our politicians. I mean, what is our politicians doing with our money? I mean, what are they spending it on?
And that's an awesome question. So now you're starting to go down the tunnel of of asking more questions to do more discovery. Again, if you consider yourself to be a professional in education for
Hmm.
students here in Wisconsin, why do you need a bureaucrat in DC to tell you how to do your job and how you should spend the money? Let the people of
I
Wisconsin
mean, I
decide.
agree with that.
So if you agree with that, then that's what the big beautiful bill is doing. That's what the
Mhm.
cuts are
That's
doing.
but then it's also going to. I mean, what do you think about the big beautiful bill of affecting Medicaid. I mean, it basically proposes significant cuts to Medicaid, right? Which thousands of people rely on for their healthcare needs.
So remember how Medicaid is funded. Medicaid is still funded from the states. Everything,
Right.
when you look at your payroll pay stub, you have two major deductions that on your pay stub. And look at it the next time you get one, or you can pull one up now. You have one called FICA. FICA is the federal government. And the next big deduction you have is called WISCO, Wisconsin government. If you eliminate the money going to a federal program like Medicaid or Medicare and put that money back in the states, it's the same concept. Let Wisconsin decide how we deal with our underserved people and our under-income people. We have a program called Badger Care in Wisconsin. Give more money to Badger Care and eliminate money sent into DC. All of this is the same money. It's just the question of what pocket is it in? Is it in the federal government's pocket, or is it in the local government pocket? As conservatives, we believe the money should be in local pockets. So when you say they're going to cut Medicaid, yeah, they're going to cut Medicaid, but it gives the states the money that they were sending to Medicaid back to the states, and the states can bolster their own medical system for their own seniors. All of this goes back to local control. Tony Evers and all the people that his administration, if they believe they know what's best for Wisconsin seniors and Wisconsin underserved, let them keep the money in Wisconsin and let them decide on how to serve the people of Wisconsin.
Yeah. I don't know. And I also feel like, I mean, because I think, I know that a lot of conservatives have an issue with, Medicare / Medicaid in general, right? Right.
Well, I think we have a concern with fraud, waste, and abuse.
And okay,
for all programs.
Okay, so I don't know. Here's my take. I feel like most conservatives dislike it because they see it as this like anti-government handout, and personally, I feel like I think it's treating a symptom. I don't know if this makes sense, but it's treating a symptom without addressing the root cause. Like, I think instead of making it seem like it's like so expensive for taxpayers to.
Go ahead, son.
I think his phone may have rung, so it might have cut him off. But I think he is coming around to see that.
Good conversation.
What do you say?
That's a good conversation, good convo. I love it.
Well, I think ultimately we want to see the money stay in the states. And I think, the same concerns that, left or Democrats have are the same concerns that the Republicans or conservatives had. Do we trust the federal government to do what's best for the local states? And Democrats and liberals believe that the federal government is the vanguard. It is it's the power. But it was never meant to be that way based on the Constitution. It was never meant for the federal government to have so much power over local issues, like the welfare and the health of a state was. That's why you have a governor. That's why you have a governor's cabinet. Their job is to govern the state. And when we give and pass more power to the federal government, that's when, you kind of, usurping your job. Your job was to be the fiscal manager, to legislate, to advocate for the people of your state. Mm-hmm. The federal government was never meant to be this powerful nor this big. I think that's part of the issue, Brother Mo. Yeah. When we talk about the cuts to this, that, and the other, it's not like the federal government is going to take the money and just hold it.
No, it ain't like that.
The money is going to stay in the states. So let your local state programs have more money and have more control. I hear so often from the left, they're concerned about red states, like, oh, they're gonna keep the money and they ain't gonna do right by it. We need the federal government to come in and do right by it. Well, I guess if that's your solution, if you believe the federal government can come in and fix the problems locally, well, that's only going to happen if you have, I guess, the president of your party and a legislator of your party in the federal government. But and that could be the same thing for local government as well too. I think we've strayed away from the intent of our Constitution, and I think that's part of the problem. The federal government has, for a lot of Democrats and for a lot of liberals, it has been like the final kind of say. And I'm not saying, Brother Mo, that at some times and some periods that the federal government needed to lean in. We know about Bull Connor down in Mississippi when he said, segregated. What did he say? Segregation today.
Mark back on. Okay.
Segregation tomorrow. And it took the federal government to come in to say to institute open schools down in Mississippi. So I get it. I'm as conservatives, we're not naive to the power that the states do have, but to make that kind of like the reason why we need to have more control of the federal government, it's still wrong, right? The local government should be the biggest government, not the federal government. That was never the intent of the founders.
All right. Hey, go ahead, Mark. Mark, what you got to say? You back? Son, you back? You back? Bad mic issues again. All right.
I would just add that again, we can look at, honestly, Brother Mo, you can look at bad examples in the federal system and you look at bad examples in the state system.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, you can look at good examples in the federal and good examples on the state.
Mm-hmm.
But as a person who understands, and I think this is where we can have some dialogue on this, what system is most efficient for common governance of the people? The people, as the preamble of, I think it's the Bill of Rights, we the people. Any government that is closest to the people is the best government. Unfortunately, I get it. You can turn back to, Democratic-led racist states like Mississippi, Alabama, all ran by racist Democrats. So I get it. The problem I think a lot of liberal or Democrats have to grapple with is you believe that the Republican Party is the party that was trying to be oppressive and racist.
Yeah.
Go and check the history. In fact, it was the Democrats who ran Georgia, Tennessee, all of them.
But both parties have switched platforms dramatically since then.
Well, you would have to show me that where.
Oh my goodness.
Because if we're going to talk about the debunking of the
Let's do it.
Switching, so every election cycle, be it the federal government or state government, there is this thing called the ledger. The ledger is the day you are sworn in when you win your election. In that ledger, it shows your name and party affiliation. So when we talk about the parties flip-flop and the party switch, show me that in the ledger that Democrats flipped wholeheartedly to become Republicans, and Republicans flipped wholeheartedly to become Democrats. That's a historical and a factual document that we can point to. You do have some defections, meaning one, two, something like that. But you don't have a whole like swath of people flipping parties. Now that's one source that you can look into to say, well, show me the documents, show me the money. Here's another one. If that actually happened, that the party switched, then you would think there'd be some writing in a newspaper, a periodical that said, look at this massive switching of the parties happening right here in 1875. Show me those publications from those writings. Where do you find this in history? There's nothing written nor documented. Now again, I question the whole idea of this whimsical idea of the party split. You're going to tell me that people who thought that blacks and other minorities were the scum of the earth and the scum of creation all of a sudden had a Jesus moment and said, you know what? That's the wrong way to think. We should love everybody, and that shouldn't be right. And then you're going to say another side of people who were like, we should love everybody, all of a sudden had a Satan moment and said, you know what? We should hate some folk, and folks should be hated. And we should just, so again, that's like asking a GD to become a VL. Like that don't happen.
Well, I just want to say maybe you should take a look at the 1960 and 1964 electoral maps, and you can take a wild guess at what happened in between those, which is the Civil Rights Act. The Civil Rights Movement, or the Civil Rights Act, was the main driver in both parties switching platforms. That's based on a historical fact. The civil rights movement did cause the switch, and that's very real, and that's not a myth. As the Democratic Party, as the Republican Party became too
Go ahead, son. Keep talking. I know you got.
I lost my train of thought.
No, keep going because you was kind of making sense a little bit. Go talk.
What was I going to say about the Republican Party, or was I trying to talk about the Democratic Party?
I don't know. You just saying some stuff. You kind of lost me, man.
I lost myself. Hold on.
You lost me because I want to hear this shit.
I thought.
Like, damn.
Well, if you look at the civil rights legislation, the Voting Act, all of those acts in 1964, Republicans led the way in those votes. The Republicans were the minority party in the 64, the Voting Rights Act, the Open Housing Act, Civil Rights Act. Republicans led the way. You had more Democrats who voted against that. Now, again, Republicans, the platform that it was always there, the party that started right here in Wisconsin, in Ripon, the party that was formed for the freeing of slaves. That party's platform has never changed. It is still part of our history, documented that we were the party.
The GOP was not always as socially conservative as it is today. In fact, it used to be a socially liberal party. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. So
what do you mean by
there are people? So you said coalitions change every election cycle, right?
I didn't say that.
Okay. What did you say?
What I said, you will get some individuals who may flip a party,
right?
But the entire party is not going to leave its core values, its core principles, especially in this case, the Republican Party that was founded right here in Ripon, 45 minutes from Milwaukee. That was started on the idea of the Underground Road, the abolition of slavery. That has not changed.
But there used to be members of the Democratic Party referred to as Dixiecrats. Those people were, that was in the 1930s. That's a term that was coined in the 1930s. Those Dixiecrats used to be, they were opposed to the Democrats extending civil rights. So they ended up a lot of those Dixiecrats ended up later on registering as Republican voters
So why would
because they
so
saw
think
the
about that.
Democratic Party, starting with FDR going in a more socially liberal direction. That's a historical fact.
So think about that for a minute.
My son
Why
held he holding his own. I like that. You on your own.
so tell me this. Why would a party,
I like it.
Dixiecrats, as you say, start to gravitate toward a party that was founded on the idea of freeing people, black people? They were
Hold your own,
Democrats.
son. I don't care.
So
Dixiecrats were already Democrats. They didn't
right,
leave the
they were.
idea of slavery,
They were
enslaving
Southern
people.
Democrats. Yeah.
And so for them to say all of a sudden they have an epiphany that slavery is wrong, now we'll take them if that's the case. But you're saying
There was backlash. There was definitely backlash from socially conservative Democrats once the Democratic Party started extending civil rights to black people. That's a fact. A lot of them
so
were a lot of these Dixiecrats were opposed to the socially liberal direction that the Democratic Party was going. So that's
so
when they
what I
started
will say is
flocking to
this.
the GO.
What I will
What
say is this. If you look at the founding document and the founding charter in Ripon, Wisconsin,
I know what the found. I
and
know how. I know that the Republican Party or the Republicans were responsible for freeing the slaves. I
but
acknowledge that, but
let me give you this though. When the Republican Party was actually formed, to your point, it was way before the Dixiecrats were even in existence. Because
right,
back then
right.
you have the Whigs and a bunch of other parties. But part of the parties that assembled in Ripon, Wisconsin, some of the people that were there were also Democrats. It's in our charter that Republicans, it gives you a whole list of the people who met in Ripon, Wisconsin. And some of the people, some of the parties that were there were Democrats. So I'll give you that you had some Democrats who were uncomfortable with all the slavery
Right.
talk and all that. They were against where the party was going. When they all came together, this is before the Republican Party actually gave itself a name. You had the Whigs, you had a bunch of other parties, and one of the other parties that were there was the Democratic Party. From that convention, from that meeting in Ripon, a new party was birthed that was against slavery. That party was born as the Republican Party.
Mm.
And can I say something too? That the civil rights got passed by the Republicans. It was Johnson, because he was a Democrat president at the time, signed it into law. But the Democrats didn't really vote for that. They were all
Okay.
against passing that. They're the
Mhm.
ones that came up with the Jim Crow laws. That was all in the South. We wouldn't have the civil rights if it hadn't been for the Republicans in the 60s.
So I would just add again the whole myth buster of the party switching. We started with the freeing of slaves. In 1964, you see again, 64, 68, whatever the year was, again, Republicans being true to their core values, saying that they believe in the civil rights of African Americans. They also gave voting
Yeah.
rights during that time. That
Yeah.
like 5 monumental amendments were made, led by Republicans. Johnson did to, finish the deal because of the relationship that, quite transparently, but very questionable, that King led. But nonetheless, Republicans, by far, by percentage wise, you had more Republicans vote for these legislation, Voting Rights Act.
I feel like it's beating a dead horse explaining myself. So I just encourage you conservatives to
So
look
let's.
at a
What
Wikipedia
I say
article
this.
called the
Hey,
Southern Strategy. You can
Wikipedia.
Google the Southern Strategy about the shift in the party platforms. It is
Okay.
not a historical myth.
So the Southern
Conservatives used to
strategy.
call themselves Democrats. Now they call themselves Republicans. That's a fact.
Oh, no,
So
it's
the
not.
so the Southern strategy was something done by Nixon, and I want to say even Barry Goldwater before that, to court every vote that they could find. I'm not saying that you don't go. I'm a black Republican in Milwaukee. I go to where I know Democrats are running everything. The Southern strategy was nothing more than a political strategy for Nixon, and I think Goldwater as well,
I
before Nixon,
suppose.
to go out and try to find as many votes as he could to go and dig into
Yeah.
Democrat strongholds and try to
Okay.
find any converts.
Hey, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna let Mark Delk and Orlando Owens continue the conversation. So I'm gonna get in 1 minute apiece. So give me your take for 1 minute, and Mark, give me your take for 1 minute. That's what we're gonna do this. Oh, here you go. Go. Mark, you wanna go first? Mark, you can talk.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, you got your whole thing. Just go first. Fuck it. I mean, yeah.
Okay, so what do you want me to say?
No, talk about what you want to talk about. Ask me a question. Say for 1 minute. Talk for 1 minute, and then I'm handing out to Orlando because I want to have a good conversation with everybody. You know what I'm saying? Have a good intellectual conversation. Unless y'all have a good.
So I just know that. Okay, so I'm ready. Is my 1 minute? Does my 1 minute start right now?
It start right now. Go ahead.
Okay. So just going back to the point about the whole the thing about Republicans being responsible for the 1960s civil rights movement and Nixon's Southern strategy first. So a certain degree that's true, but at the same time, as civil rights started to be won by minorities, Nixon and the GOP actively recruited racist Southerners as a bloc because they knew that they would respond to their dog whistles about tradition. And Republican politicians use a lot of racist dog whistling. And it started with Ronald Reagan. And, when Ronald Reagan would, use the term welfare queens, we all know that he was talking about Black females who live in poverty when he used the term welfare queens. We know that. I mean, at least I know that. And that's just an example of, racist dog whistling that Republicans have used not only throughout history, but presently. So you can't sit here, you guys want to sit here and try to quote unquote enlighten me about Republicans being.
Okay, I'm gonna mute you for a second.
I hate that I only get 1 minute because.
Okay, I give you 2 minutes then. You got 1 more minute left.
I just find it kind of baffling that conservatives want to enlighten me, quote unquote, about civil rights and Republicans paving the way for civil rights. That's just not true, because we see that even today, that's not true. They have enacted a series of laws, and and their rhetoric too really reflects the hatred. I mean, they've not only attacked civil rights for
I don't like civil rights anyway,
but LGBT rights are under attack too. So you can't sit here and tell me that conservative Republicans are in favor of these things when they're not. And on top of that, I know my history. I know that both parties switch platforms.
Okay,
and I don't even understand why we're even having a political debate about it. But that's all I'm gonna say. I'm very tired right now. So I guess this is all I've got to say.
Right now, I give back you in 5 minutes. Orlando got 2 minutes.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, go ahead, Orlando.
Oh, I mean, I think that unfortunately, I think history is revisionist sometimes, and we're kind of making things up as we go. But clearly, you can look at the legislation from the Big Beautiful Bill to Trump's first term, the First Step Act. opportunity zones, support for school choice, which is primarily minority students, to continue to say that the Republican Party somehow is against minorities and blacks and Latinos. It's just really, it's not really, it's not accurate. To, look at the history, the vote count is what the vote count is. You can look back at past history. There's no such flipping of the parties. I will say that I don't always agree with every piece of legislation that Republicans pass, but I can tell you I definitely don't support what Democrats support, is making more people dependent on government to come in to save the day. It is more about, for me individually, for self-determination, self-sovereignty, to make my own way. So unfortunately, Mark may have a different viewpoint about that. But again, when we want to make America first, protect American interests, get crime control under control, bring back American jobs, again, everybody benefits from that. And the historical documentation clearly shows who was supportive of different legislations that actually promoted women's rights and voting rights. LGBTQ is not under attack right now. But what we're not going to support is anybody trying to willfully and hopefully push their agenda down, on others, unfairly.
All right. John, what you got to say?
Well, I just want to go on that one comment that he was saying about Reagan, but he forgets about what Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton with the Crime Act talking about super predators for black men. That was after Reagan. Biden is the one that pushed the differentiation between crack cocaine and powder cocaine, making crack cocaine a bigger offense than powder cocaine, even though it's the same drug, because he wanted to punish black men. But Orlando is right, The other thing is that after the Republican Party was formed, the Democrats were lynching and killing black men that wanted to vote Republican, and they had poll taxes in the South to prevent them to vote Republican.
Yeah, go ahead. Keep talking. I got something.
And the thing is that, as Orlando was saying, each party tries to build a coalition. Trump, at least, he has Democrats in his coalition. He has LGBT people that are part of his cabinet. Ambassadors that are LGBT. He was the first one to put him in the cabinet.
Hey, my son didn't get triggered and leave. He didn't get triggered and leave.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Michael, you ain't getting your ass up here. I'm not fucking with you, Michael, tonight.
He was definitely said he was a little he was tired, but I understand. Again, it is the the spinning of the narrative.
Yeah.
Revisionist history. Again,
Yeah.
I think.
And WikiLeaks, that's another thing, Orlando. WikiLeaks is not a reliable source.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. That not only did Biden support the '94 crime bill, Biden supported the '84 sentencing bill that gave way to the '94 crime bill.
Yep.
And, so we have to have, when we talk about prison reform and justice reform, so did the Democrats flip again? They never, and I think that's where we need to know the history of the parties. Because again, we have to look at how when we look at the First Step Act, Obama could have did that. Biden could have did that. They didn't. Clinton could have did that.
Exactly.
How we look at school choice that is primarily by minority students, and the narrative that's saying that we're taking money from public schools to give them the choice schools. I think as a parent, you want to find whatever school works for your student.
Yeah.
And having more state control. It's almost a boogeyman type of approach. Like, well, we don't want to give power to the states, but we have.
Well, that's what the 10th Amendment was about, Orlando. The 10th Amendment is all about that.
And break down the 10th Amendment again.
That's where the power goes to the states. It's very limited to the federal government. That the bigger power is supposed to be given to the states. It's supposed to be done locally, not in Washington.
And I think that's part of the problem when we look at
You want me
government.
to read it? You want me to read it to you? Actually, I got it right here. If you want me to read it to you,
Is Brother Moshe.
Hey, read it.
Yeah.
you want me to read it to you?
Sean, you can read it.
Okay, it's really short. It's
Yeah, that's why I say you can read it. It's short.
the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution or prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Period. That's
Mm.
it. That's all it says. You know.
And I think
But you know, another issue I wanted to say, Orlando, was this is something that I find very interesting, and people neglect to notice, is that when we fought against slavery, okay, the Democrats in the South said we have to have slavery. Who's going to pick the cotton, right? Today, when we say we want to get rid of the illegals, they say if we get rid of the illegals, who's going to pick our fields? Who's going to pick the vegetables and stuff? They're
Hey,
still on the
John, you're
same.
taking.
They're on the same mentality to have
it
a
is
subclass.
it is definitely very echoes of the past when you hear some of
Yeah,
the arguments, and the Democrats are sharing again, showing their
So,
true colors. You
they
know,
want that subclass.
and again, we need workers, but at the same time, again, you look at some of
yeah.
these most impoverished cities that are run by Democrats, some of the highest unemployment rates. None of the jobs that they're referring to, trying to protect, affect poor blacks.
Yeah,
It doesn't affect. I mean, again, you're protecting people. And Trump is trying to make some meeting in the middle as far as, okay, if you work for a reputable company, he's willing to work with the owner to get you right. And if that was the case, again, that was always the intention. Just do it the right way. And I'm not saying that companies don't have a role to play, and they may need to have a penalty to be paid as well, because they employed the people who are undocumented, the illegals. They did.
yeah.
And so they also should be, you know in this conversation of responsibility.
And to be honest, Orlando, some of that is Republicans because some of these Republicans they want cheap labor to come in, because that gives them more money. They make more profits for their companies. So that's why we have these issues when they try to pass a bill and stuff. That we get these Republicans that don't come along. They want some of that.
Well, because part of it is that they represent rural communities, and
Yeah, they want that cheap labor.
they know that these farm communities, in Wisconsin included, I hadn't seen how some of these guys voted, but Wisconsin is a dairies. The two major industries in our country, in our state, is manufacturing and agriculture. So you need a workforce and a labor force to go out there until you have enough money to invest in, automation. But
Yeah,
again, I understand what the young man is saying, because it's a lot of the same liberal talking points, like they don't like us and they don't want this, they don't support the LBGQ. You know, Trump is definitely not a religious conservative. You know, on some levels, he may not even be a fiscal conservative, but he is America first. And I think
yeah,
that's part of the concern, that even some of the diehard Republicans, even with the big, beautiful bill, they didn't like it because it spent too much money. And there were some questions about Medicaid and Medicare. I'll admit that. But ultimately, if we send the money back to the states, we got to, do you trust your governor or you don't? I don't trust
yeah.
my governor. So I get it. It's going to be a 50-50 proposition, or 48-48 proposition. Some will say, yes, send more money back to the states because I like my governor. And others will say, don't send no money back to the states because I hate my governor.
Yeah, that's how it is for me too. I have a Democrat governor.
And we have one here in
And
Wisconsin.
Trump said, he wasn't going to cut Medicare, Social Security. He said that about 100 times. He said, "I ain't cutting it." You know,
And the
the
problem is,
only cuts to Medicaid was, like you said, fraud, waste, and abuse, and illegals. Now they did put a work requirement on there, but you know what? Bill Clinton started that in
And
the
they're gonna mark back
in the
up.
'90s. He put the work requirement on social benefits.
Yeah, that started here in Wisconsin with Tommy Thompson. Bill Clinton took our W-2, our welfare program, and said he liked what we did in Wisconsin. We put work requirements in Wisconsin.
Mhm.
We abandoned the old AFDC program, which was there was no work requirements. You get paid for every child you got, and
Hey,
that wasn't
my
working.
bad, son. I know you back there.
And Bill Clinton liked what we did in Wisconsin under Tommy Thompson and adopted that approach for all the country, that there were going to be work requirements to receive benefits if you were able-bodied, which you should. If you cannot provide for yourself, then that's a different story. And that's where charities and the churches and government comes in to take care of the ones who are unable to do for themselves.
Yeah. And one thing about Bill Clinton, though, he had a balanced budget. We haven't had one since Bill Clinton.
Well, we can't.
John, don't even say that Bill Clinton had a balanced budget because
He
when
did.
he
Look at
was
the history.
no, he did not. If you
Yeah,
actually look,
with
if you
Newt
actually look,
Gingrich.
there was always a deficit. When they said he had a balanced budget, it was 10 years down the road. It wasn't when he was in office, because I've actually looked up the stat with that. But what most people don't realize, you know what Bill Clinton did to actually get that to average out, don't you? During the 1990s, he's actually made the middle class pay more taxes. Taxes went up under Bill Clinton.
Well,
But yes.
Bill Clinton also passed NAFTA too. So
that Orlando, you are right about that. And I do want to ask one question. I want to ask this for the simple fact: if the parties actually switched, can you name one politician other than Strom Thurmond that switched parties? Can anyone name somebody on the Democrat side that went Republican after all that happened? A politician. Because other than Strom Thurmond, that's the only one politically that actually switched. And a lot of the southern states did not go Republican until the 1990s. So 30 years after it was passed.
Yeah, you won't find many when you check the legislator ledger of the states or Congress. You won't find many that flipped from one party to another because of the creation of the parties. It was you don't see it. You see a handful, and it was not by mass or by a large number. You see, like you said, Strom Thurmond. You'll see a one-off here that flips. You'll see a state legislator that flipped, but nothing en masse that would represent anything that gave significance to this myth about the parties flip. You just don't see it. You just don't see it. And the publications in the time, the newspapers didn't write about it. So those are two historical data pieces that you cannot find to go back and say, well, did this really happen? There's no newspapers writing about this, and there's no legislative ledgers that you can point to in any significance to say, yeah, look at all these Democrats leaving. You just don't see that.
All right, we got Mark back. Mark. I said he came back. How you doing, Mark? Mark, are you here?
Good. So, another important point
Turn
can
your
you hear
mic
me? My mic is on.
Yeah, I hear you.
Oh, can you hear me
I can hear
now?
you now. Go ahead.
Okay.
Talk.
Hold on. Am I still on the call with
Now.
you?
Go ahead, talk.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
you are.
Can you hear me?
We got Lando over there.
Okay.
We got Mike Hood here.
All right, good, good. So I just wanted to bring up an important point about, the discussion, regarding the discussion about both parties, switching, or at least my claim, the claim that I made. I want to clarify that it's important to understand that, first of all, let's distinguish between the National Democratic Party and the Southern Democratic Party in the night. So there were two factions of the Democratic Party back then. The Southern Democratic Party, which were known as the Dixiecrats, and then there was the National Democratic Party. The Southern Democrats were generally more socially conservative than the Democrats that we know of today. They aligned more, their beliefs aligned more with, instead aligned more with the Republicans of today. So I wanted to clarify that, yes, there was in fact a large faction of Democrats, specifically the Dixiecrats, who started voting Republican in droves
And
once the Democratic Party started, favoring civil rights. That's a fact.
Mark, if that is true, why did it take almost 30 years after the passing of the legislation, the Civil Rights Act, for the southern states to go Republican? If there's so many of these people that went to the Republican Party, why did it take 30 years for the southern states to actually, the so-called Dixiecrats, to actually go Republican as state legislators? Why? And it took 30 years for it to happen in our federal Congress. So
You're
please,
talking about, when you say 30 years, give me like a time frame.
the Civil Rights Act that you talk about when the party switched, that was 1964.
Correct.
Republic the Republicans in the South did not take state legislators until the 1990s, 30 years later. 1994 is when most Southern states, and some of them even later than that, started to turn Republican. If all these Dixiecrats went Republican, why didn't that happen
What
almost
states are you?
immediately?
Can you give me? Okay, so because I'm trying to fully understand your question, can you specify what states you're talking about
I'm
that
talking
turn?
about the Southern Democrats, the Dixiecrats.
Okay,
So that would
so
be
the southern states.
North Carolina, South Carolina,
Right,
Virginia,
right.
Georgia, Alabama. All of them, it took 30 years to get state legislators into power in those states. If they all switched, if all the Dixiecrats switched, why did it take 30 years? Weren't
It
their
took 30
voters go
years
with
for them
them?
to have. Wait, it took 30 years for them to have state legislatures in their states.
So it took 30
No,
years for them to start winning congressional seats and also state
Oh, I
legislative
see.
seats. So if your assertion is accurate, why did it happen right away? Why didn't this in 1964? Why didn't this just flip to become Republican in 1964? It took a
Because
long.
I mean, from what I know about U.S. politics, is it's constantly evolving. Coalitions do evolve. It's not, but they're not going. Coalitions are not going to evolve in one cycle. Sometimes it takes a few cycles for that to happen. A few cycles of, you know, politicians delivering promises that
You're right. You're
they
right. So
either,
I
you
agree
know,
with you. So if it took 30 years, so when the civil rights legislation was passed primarily by Republicans, it took 30 years for those states to flip Republican. That means Republicans have to work hard to change the conscience of the people to
yeah,
stop voting for Democrats and vote for Republicans.
they
And that,
did, which they did.
but again, those states didn't flip overnight. It
No,
was time that Republicans had to go out and earn the people's vote in southern states. They had to
and
work
the,
hard.
and the
I
party
see.
platforms never changed. The party platform has been the same.
Mhm.
And that's always my question when someone says that the
Yeah,
party switched. If that actually happened, why did it take so long for southern states to flip Republican?
And just
And thank you,
explain.
Orlando.
I'll tell you why.
Just explain. So
Because when it comes to the flipping, first of all, it takes sometimes decades to change the mindset. And the reason why that happens is because sometimes people are actually happy with where they are today or yesterday, and it takes time. And like Orlando says, you have to go out and sway the people to make them believe that you are better fit, whether it be at the state level, city level,
yeah,
towns, and the federal government. People don't always just bow down and say, yeah, we're going to give them a chance. And that's actually a problem across America. Our biggest problem is we still have that mindset when it comes to the two parties. Oh, I don't like the way people roll in Orlando State. But Orlando knows there's a lot of things that are
yeah,
wrong, and he's got to go out and try to convince the people, listen, are we going to live this way for the rest of our lives when we surely know this kind of living kind of sucks?
But
And the guy
our
in charge is not doing anything about it. But we voted for him. Why? Because a political affiliation, the party.
So
Think about that.
RC, the thing about it, if all these Dixiecrats went Republican and people like them policies, why did it take 30 years in southern states? If they all switched, if a majority of them switched, like Mark is trying to say, why didn't the legislators switch along with the politicians? Why?
it,
Because what he is saying is the politicians are actually switched. So wouldn't their voters still continue to vote for him no matter what's beside their name if they like if they liked what they were doing?
it didn't happen. So that's why it took. So Marcus and
it
the
was more
other.
of a shift. It was more of a shift. It wasn't
Okay,
necessarily a swap. It
let's
was more of
let's
a shift.
let's take the shift. I think now that I'm thinking about this, Marcus, you're right. There was a party switch. Republicans were able to convince racist Democrats in the South that their thinking was wrong, and it took them 30 years to do it.
mm.
30 years.
Exactly.
Right.
You know what? You're right.
That
Yeah,
I and
because
thank you.
the party platforms never changed.
Hey,
And
your take on this,
and
Mark?
that I think that was incorrect wording on my part. Like I said, it was more the type of voters or coalitions that the Democrats and Republicans have gained over time. It was more of a shift, not a swap.
I'll give you that. I'll just say that a swap or switch or flip. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think you're right. But to the young man, the brother who was talking, it took 30 years for Republican elected officials to go out there locally on a national and also a local level to tell racist whites that this is not the way, this is wrong. It took them 30
Yeah.
years to change their
And
behavior.
also for the racist parts to die off.
Yep.
Okay.
So now I'm agreeing with you, Mark. You're right. There was
True.
there
That's
was a
true.
party switch. Republicans were able to convince, hopefully because they were somewhat evangelical, though how they thought about people of a different shade and a different hue, it was wrong. And now let's
Yep.
also be clear, the Civil War played a big role in that as well too. But nonetheless, it took 30 years from the passing of the 64 voting acts and the voting rights and the open housing, 30 years for those states to flip.
Ooh, nigga, what?
That's a lot. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of praying, and that's a lot of money that had to change people's minds, hearts, and thoughts. And that's why the Republicans swept the South, but it took them 30 years. I would call that, to your point, Mark, that is the true Southern strategy.
Mhm. Okay.
Can I say something real quick?
Yep.
I hear all this talk, especially here because I'm in New York City, the Democrats begging the rest of us, the same mindset. Who's going to pick our cotton, pick our fruits, this and that? Does anybody understand that the immigrants, whether they're legal or non-legal, they don't actually work as hard as our ancestors did when we was picking cotton and picking the fields and picking up the fruits? Nobody talks about the progression of technology involved. These immigrants do not work and have never worked as hard as us unless they was here with us back in the 17, 18, early 1900s, middle 40s, 50s, 60s. No, it's easier for them to do the work. But the mindset coming out of the Democratic Party and a few rhinos is that we can't find nobody to do the work. I understand that. But at the end of the day, don't make the rest of us believe the same mindset that we grew up in, or excuse me, our ancestors had to struggle with when they were alive. It's not the same. It has
I think
changed.
we all
It got
slaves.
better.
Yeah,
We
but
all
RC, it's also because they're not willing to pay them either the same wages. If
And
they were to pay
again,
them a good wage, then people would do the good job. Even Americans would do that.
but exactly, John.
we all slaves. We all got a massa.
Me and John had a fantastic conversation about 2 nights ago. I blame the American business industry because
Yep.
those are the ones that don't want to pay nothing to
Yep.
us, but they'll take advantage of people who come here to actually work, but they get paid less.
But
we
RC,
use that as a weapon against America, and that should be shameful when it comes out of
Yep.
our politicians and our
but
government institute.
but I
And
wouldn't even
that's
blame the
both parties too.
Exactly.
But
Hey,
I wouldn't even blame the actual the companies. I would blame our politicians because our politicians have sold us
but I
out.
believe we all slaves. We all got masters. We go to work. We all got a boss.
Yeah,
We
but a
all
lot of the politicians are controlled by lobbyists that work for
everybody got a
these
master.
businesses.
My son got a master. I got a master. We all got a master. Let's be honest. We all are slaves.
Well, put it this way: how many of y'all would open up a
Don't talk
business
about
and
Kelly like
say?
that.
How many
No,
of y'all
I'm
would?
serious. We all are slaves.
How many of y'all would open up a business and say?
I'm a slave. We all are slaves. We all
not.
got a boss.
How many of
Yeah.
y'all would
That
open
shit
up a
ain't changed.
business and say, "I'm not gonna hire Mo because he's black. I gotta find me illegal
But
because
we
I don't
all
want to
got
pay Mo."
masters.
You see
We
what
I
I'm
all
would
got
saying?
rather
masters.
have.
But again, that's the mindset.
Yeah,
Hey,
we're
my,
not going to hire Mo because he
Listen,
got
listen,
freckles.
listen.
but I'm talking about you bring me some
Let's
money.
get one thing straight. America
Okay.
is where is at today because
Yeah.
Americans created this. We did this. We can't be playing the blaming
We
game
all go work the
when
masters.
most of us are unwilling. The people
Are
with the
we?
power, the money, they're not willing to pay you
But
a
we
fair
all get
wage.
masters.
That's right,
We
and that's
all
all we
do.
do. We say, "Yes, master. Where do you want me to work
Okay.
today? Come on."
Okay.
Would you say
That's
that?
Okay. Son, you're a school
Yeah.
teacher. These people run shit. The school, the superintendent, they run shit. They the masters over there, son. You know what I'm
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
about? We all got masters still.
My superintendent sucks.
You know what I'm talking about,
I got a
son?
question.
Yeah.
Okay. We still bail their head, goddammit. Woo, I ain't lying either.
So I'm going to ask Mark a question.
Oh,
Yeah.
I wonder what happened.
You still bail that goddamn head. You know, you retired, John. You still bail that motherfucking head. You know, when you look, when y'all sit there and gotta pay no, when y'all retired, Y'all still better than motherfucking hey. We all build the speech, nigga. That thing stuff.
Somebody
Yo,
said they had
I got a
a question.
question. I got a question from Mark. What is your opinion on the
Shut the fuck up.
what is your opinion of the future of the Democratic Party, Mark?
Mike Good. Shut the fuck up. Just relax. We'll talk in a little bit.
On the future of the Democratic Party.
We're gonna tell for
Yeah.
we'll kick you off.
I would say that I mean, at this point, I don't feel like the Democratic Party right now is where it needs to be. It's in disarray. I feel like the Democratic Party really, really needs new leadership. Not Nancy Pelosi, she's fucking 80 something years old. She needs to retire.
Right.
We need younger progressive voices like AOC. I know a lot of conservatives don't like her. But we need
Boo!
I will agree with Alex Stein. I want to keep her because she's a big booty Latina. I will agree with Alex Stein on that one.
Anybody that lies,
Marquise don't like her either.
anybody that lies about where they truly were raised up. She was raised in Orange County with very wealthy, healthy people.
You dig?
But she told people in her district, I'm a bronze girl, just like the rest. No, she's not.
Yeah, like the rest.
Listen, man, anybody that can lie to you about where they grew up, am I supposed to take them seriously? Come on. Would you take your neighbor seriously? If he told you, I grew up in the ghetto, and you find out this man just pulled in from Texas yesterday. What's he talking about? He still has his accent. Come on. It's all a game with these politicians.
Mm-hmm. It's all a game.
And the other problem is that we have a uniparty. There are Democrats and Republicans that work together to screw over the working people.
And the Democratic
we want to get rid of Mitch McConnell. There's just like you say, we want to get rid of the old people in our party too. Exactly. You know, and they're part of a uniparty. They work for themselves. They don't work for the people anymore.
Well, look at that video I sent you, John. Chuck Schumer, 1994. Yeah. We got to get rid of these illegal immigrants. It's not fair to the American citizens. Just and that. Then move forward to 2025. Oh, we need these sorry ass bastards to pick our. Come on, man. These are seasonal politicians, and they're all full of shit. All of them.
But I think the majority of these politicians are and I'm gonna say it's on both sides, are listening to the fringes. They're not listening to the people like we have here. Most of us are either center right, center left, or in the middle. I don't think there is any. I could be wrong because I don't know Mark. I've heard the rest of you guys. I don't know Mark all that well. I don't think he is a fair. I might be wrong, but Mark, please tell me if I'm right or wrong about this. What do you think about Zohan Madani?
Who is he? Is he a New York? Is he like the New York? Who is he again?
He's running for the mayor of New York.
Yeah, yes. That's what I thought. Knew that name sounded familiar. What do I think of him?
Yes.
I have not, because I don't really follow like New York politics. I'm not really a New Yorker, but I know that he made national news. He's like, I know that his platform aligns more with like Bernie Sanders and AOC. I know that he's a millennial progressive, something like that. And I think that's the kind of future direction that I want the Democratic Party to take, is to give younger voices like him, who are more in tune with today's issues, a chance to gain power. Because Nancy Pelosi has done everything in her, everything to maintain or cling onto her power. And I just think that's wrong. She's been, in Congress for decades. She, in fact, her roots are in politics. She comes from a family who who have been involved in politics. She
Yeah.
she basically, what I'm trying to say is she's a career politician, and that's
So,
not
so you don't agree with Gavin Newsom then? You don't
and
agree
that's
with
not
Gavin Newsom, right?
who I want the Democrats to represent. What you say?
You're not for Gavin Newsom then because that's her nephew.
No, he's another one.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Pelosi's nephew.
Oh, I didn't know that. Interesting.
Yeah, that's her
Nepotism.
nephew.
Nepotism.
Yeah.
Well, listen
But
to
tell me,
this. Listen to
Let RC
this.
say something. He's from New York. That's his New York.
I'm in New
Okay.
York City, and when this
Yeah.
dude decided to run for mayor, my first question, well, who the hell is this guy and where did he come from? He only did 4 years at the state level, and they bring him down to run for mayor of New York City. I have no idea who the hell he is. I could tell you one thing, he's a foreigner. He ain't been in the United States for less than 10 years. I'm sorry. For me, he doesn't qualify to be a mayor in New York City because you never lived with us. You don't know our struggles, really. You just came to America because it was easy. And now he's into politics. The
Yeah.
dangers for me is this going to be another AOC who winds up in Congress and gets to make things happen or change things in a way to benefit themselves? So when people say things, and again, I'm not saying that everybody should know every other politicians in every state, city, or whatever, but we should do, because if they should get to Congress one day, these are the people that make changes that affects other territories in America, which sometimes don't benefit the people in the other territories. Another thing, people can say career politician. I'm sorry, it's up to the people. If somebody's not working out for you in your state or your city, there's no such thing as term limit. Just vote them out of office. It's that simple. We
Yeah.
don't even do that.
Yeah.
but
Hey, RC, didn't he say he was a socialist though?
he
Yes,
did.
he's a socialist. And guess what this nut job said last week or 2 weeks ago? I'm going to make city grocery stores. You mean like Cuba? That when you get in and get online, and once the food's gone, sorry, man, you're going to have to come back together tomorrow because we're all out of chickens today. Is that what he wants to do? Is this what AOC wants to do? Bernie Sanders, this is how they think. They're like saying, just, sit back and wait. When the store opens, make sure you get there early so, you might get in. But if you're at the back of the line, I'm sorry, sucks to be you. You're going to have to come back Tuesday. Is this what we signing up for? Come on. With all the money that's coming into this country, people don't
RC,
even do research, man. Do your research. New York
RC,
State alone collects. And John was like, whoa, yeah. I would suggest look up your state budget at the state level. You're going to come back and say, well, this state survives on, would it be 50 billion a year, 60, 65, 78? But nobody talks about, well, what are the interest money that comes in? New York pulls in over $6.4 trillion a year. 1 year, one state. They don't tell you they make that.
No, they don't.
You know what they tell you? The state budget is $78 billion. You know what that $78 billion came from? Our pockets. But the money that they made off the state by having their corporations, their companies, selling all kinds of electronics, all kinds of shit, they make trillions. We don't get any of that money.
No, we don't.
It
I
goes.
got a
Go ahead, man.
I got a question. Does anybody know what percent grocery markets in New York City make? What percentage of all the money that comes into that store do they get to keep for profit? Mark, do you know what the percentage is?
It's
Not
like
at all.
5%.
No clue.
Like 5%. It's like 5% or less.
It's actually less than that. It's 2.
Yeah,
It's 2%. It's 2%. But the grocery stores are the ones that's ripping you off. No, it's not. RC, you live in New York City. What is your when you go to the grocery store? How much do you pay in taxes on that stuff? What's your percentage?
I don't even remember. I stopped thinking like when it got up to 8.3%. I'm pretty sure it's higher, but see, this is what most people don't understand. If it's 2%, I say that's bold. That's what they report. We forget most of these grocery stores, when you walk into them, is Jose, Hector, Anthony, and none of them are from here.
Very true.
So we go back to the business industry. They'll do anything to make a profit off of our backs while robbing us at the same time. And the politicians will be sitting there talking about, oh, we're going to talk to the federal government. No, somebody needs to talk to these politicians inside of New York City and say, why are you allowing this?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? I bought a box and I sent a picture to John the other day. The smallest box of cereal in New York City, $9.19. And I'm one of those guys that I remember shit going back to when I was a kid, back in the 50s. You know what I remember? I remember Congress sitting in front of, or sitting down in Congress, the congressman, demanding that cereal manufacturers bring their prices down when they got up to like $6 or whatever, and they did bring them down. Now they're up to, the small box is $9. You know what they're asking for the big box? Almost $18. You hear Congress saying, hey man, you guys don't lost your freaking mind. They don't even mention it. Why? Because they don't care about the rest of us. If they did, they would have been having some more hearings. It's a joke. America's a joke. America is a con job. The whole world's a con job, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all don't believe it. That's on you, man. And when it comes to fair salaries, and I spoke to John about this one night too. I said,
yeah, but RC, we're old farts, you know.
You know, yeah, I get more money. I get more money with my 3 benefits, Social Security, because I worked my ass off. I wasn't a lazy bum. I didn't allow these people in the hood talk about, oh, you working for the white man. He ain't never gonna let you go nowhere. Really? The money that I pull in monthly from the veterans, from my Social Security check and my pension, I make 3 times more than you people complaining about. I need $15 for a fair wage. Exactly. I was making $15 in 1990. And you know why? Because I went out there and trained myself. I said to myself, ain't nobody stopping me. I want this job. But before I went and got that job, I make sure I knew how to do that job. Don't get expected to be hired if you don't know, well, have you ever done this work before? Nah, you know, this and that. That's not how it works, man. That's not real life. Real life is about you. Prepare yourselves for your lives. You don't want to go to school or training? That's on you. And for God's sake, stop this bull crap with white man ain't never gonna let you go nowhere. Really?
Like, get the fuck out of here with that shit.
Come on, man.
It's the freckled man.
Don't punk yourselves
out. Yeah, the
freckled
man.
Don't punk yourselves out. And when they said things like, oh, why are you working for the white man? Well, who else you expect me to work for? There ain't nobody else running this shit. Exactly, I don't see Puerto Ricans running this shit. I don't see, but I see.
No, we don't.
They're the ones that running the shit. So who you want me to work for? Oh, that's right. You want me to go work the system, right? The welfare system? Get the fuck out of here. Keep it real, man.
Get out of here.
Keep it real, seriously, man.
I would say build them like you. I wish people today had the same attitude that you had. Because that would solve a lot of our problems in this country.
Again, all we do is bitch, man. It's a society.
That's why we talk, RC, because we
You
think
know,
alike.
we try to
Yeah.
like, conversate some real shit. Like today, I feel like this is a real conversation, but we don't have
Yeah,
enough of
we ain't
these,
arguing
man.
with each other, you know.
You know?
My son here liberal, he's talking with everybody. Everybody, look, respect him.
Yeah.
We respect everybody. That's how we talk.
Yeah, I've enjoyed this
That
conversation for sure.
that's because
Yeah.
that's because
no
Mike Hood's
arguing.
muted. That's because
Hey,
Mike Hood is muted.
yeah, actually, my son, you know what, Marquise, he actually wanted this conversation.
I got another question
He wanted
for
to do
Mark.
it.
Yeah, I got.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead, Michael, because I'm gonna mute you. You gonna talk that shit, man. You talk too much shit, man.
Just don't bring up the
I
aliens.
got another question for Mark.
Yeah.
No,
Yep.
I'm not talking about. No, we having a good conversation. We're not doing right, Mark. What do you think? Yeah, no, that's after show.
What'd you say?
Mark, what do you
I
think
didn't
about
hear.
Pam Blondie and Cash Patel?
Pam who?
Bondi, the Attorney General.
Oh.
I said, what do
Okay.
you think about Pam Blondie and Cash Patel? Pam Blondie
Can you explain what's
and
going
Cash
on with that?
Patel.
Explain, because I heard a little like snippets about what was going on, but can you explain like what's going on with Pam Bondi?
Well,
Because I don't know anything about the situation with her. I know she's in the news right now.
can we, Mo?
Yeah,
Hey,
they're
man.
talking about the Epstein files and
Oh yeah.
Well, it's supposed to be a list, and they were saying that they had a list, and they were.
And the con job continues.
And
And the
then
bitch lied. I'm gonna be honest, the bitch lied and said people get evicted tomorrow.
Y'all don't have no opinion on that?
Bitch
Because
lied.
Cash Patel was kind of pushing that pretty hard before he became FBI director.
Dan Bongino and Don Bongino.
It's a mindset. Even when it comes to them,
Go
they
ahead,
tell
Mark.
us things and we fall for it.
so
Ain't
no,
nothing
I
gonna
was
be
just gonna
done.
Yeah,
say
Dan.
that I
Trump
heard
didn't never say anything about dropping shit, but
yeah, I was
it was
gonna
kind
Yo.
my
go
bad.
ahead.
Oh, okay. No, I was just gonna say that yeah, I heard about some Trump supporters being angry with him and Pam Bondi over the Epstein files, but I just wasn't sure why.
Well, the people that are angry, and again, these are how it doesn't matter who these people are. When America is told
Mhm.
we
No,
got
because she said
this.
she was.
No, Mike, listen to me.
Shut up, Mike.
When America tells us, our government says we got this new prosecutor, she don't play. Don't tell us things and say we're going to get to the bottom of something
What?
and then turn around down the road and just say something like they've been reporting. Oh, the file was empty.
Right.
But that's not what you said 5 months ago. And the thing is, the people got the right to get angry because they were given something to believe in. And it was just like everything else. We get promises
Nope.
and they shut it down in our faces. And now what do? Nothing.
Nothing, bro.
Newsflash.
It's the old saying: absolute power
Newsflash, bro.
corrupts. Absolute power corrupts.
There you go.
Well,
Just
and
like
also
Exactly, newsflash. You dig?
also correct me if I'm wrong, but it wasn't
But
Trump.
the crazy thing is, so why is Maxwell in? Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Oh, I was gonna.
Wait.
Oh. Can I talk
Go
now?
ahead. Keep talking.
Okay, no, I was gonna say, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Trump close friends with Epstein back in the day?
Here he go.
they're all
Well, he
friends
actually
one way or
kicked him
another.
out of his club because he was trying to get with some young girl. So he broke off ties with Epstein. But the thing is when you get big in business, they mingle with each other. That's just unfortunate. But he wasn't
Mm,
really that close with them. I think he flew on his plane like 3 times here in
okay.
the United States. He never went to the island or anything like that, but he did fly on his plane like 3 times.
Woo!
And again, that doesn't say much, John, but you know what it tells me? I'm like, okay, you notice that now they're saying that other figures were hanging out with Epstein. My thing is, why say
Yeah,
something now when you already made us believe that
We
yeah.
broke up,
What?
RC.
RC, yeah.
now they're
Oh,
reporting that they have other political figures that were hanging out with this
Yeah,
dude?
because
But it was
I
after the fact that they
because Cash
already made the
Patel has been
statement.
talking a lot of shit before he became the FBI director.
But that's what I'm saying. They already threw the snake out. The snake was the list. Now they're saying the
Mhm.
list don't exist. So I'm supposed to just say, okay, we'll wait. Wait for what?
but how did Galini Maxwell get prosecuted if there was no list?
But there you go. See,
I
at least me and you, John, we know how to read between the lines. We remember what
Yeah,
they said.
that's
We
because we're old
remember,
farts. I told you,
but
yeah.
we're
I
old
but I
farts.
want to ask
Exactly. That's what I was just about to say. I was just about to say
I
that.
want to I want to ask the older guys, and this is something that I've been thinking about. Could could that list, and I know a lot of us up here would love to see that list. Could it have too many figureheads with businesses and countries around the world, and it would
Mm.
just destroy everything? Could it be just be the black pill of all black pills that they really can't, because of it would just destroy the entire system, the
Yes.
Well,
entire
It,
world.
I would have said yes, but they said the same thing about the JFK file, and they released that recently, and I don't see the whole world crumbling. But they said that about JFK. We can't release it because it's going to
But
mess everything up in the world. But
John,
I
but
think
the
we're
thing
I think
about
we're
it,
big enough to
most
handle it. We're big enough to handle it.
but I think with the JFK files, if they released it back in the 1960s, it would have destroyed the world, because we found out that the CIA, Mossad, all these entities had some were all players in this. We don't know exactly who did it, but it would have probably brought down the Western world at some point because of
Mhm.
all of that. So looking back then, even though I wasn't born, I wasn't alive when JFK was shot, it could have sent this entire world into a tailspin that we might not be out of today.
Mm.
Well, it was the CIA, and people suspected that all along, and
Mm-hmm.
it still came out that it was the CIA. He was a CIA asset. You know, Now they're trying to say that Epstein was a CIA asset,
Yeah.
right? RC?
and Mossad and this, and he was a part.
Yep.
And my thing is, if he
He was
had
an
the goods,
agent.
yeah, if he had the goods on people, I could see why our government or say, you know
Yeah,
what, if
yeah.
we
He's
was,
Mossad. Yeah,
yeah, if we was to really put this
and
shit on,
Mossad. He was bringing in the politicians.
yeah,
He was
because
a money
It was
bundler.
imagine if your best politician who you have faith in all your life so far, and you find out that he was just got low down dirtbag, that would
Go
piss
down
you off.
dirtbag, Jack.
So imagine pissing
he
off
was a
another,
honeypot.
you know?
Yeah, he was a money bundler for the CIA, and he would bundle money for other people, big
If,
powerful
if,
people.
if our government is trying to avoid mass hysteria in a way of anger, like we've had enough, let's just burn it all down. You know what I'm saying? Because they got minorities burning their cities down whenever they say, hey, go burn it down. We go, yes, master. Notice they never tell you to go burn down somebody else's neighborhood. They tell you to go burn your own neighborhood down. And you know what we do? We go right ahead and do it.
They ain't gonna burn nothing.
Michael, what happened in 2020? How many places got burned down that in 2020 because of the summer of because of the summer of love? I don't
But I
know.
think they too
I
docile
don't.
to go crazy over the Epstein list. People are too into their social media.
Well, that's the point. Me and
Hey,
John talk about that too.
hey,
Listen
yep.
to
Hey,
all the
angry
shit.
conservative. Why do you scream when you talk?
It's just the way I. It's the way I am,
Oh, okay.
John.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's the way
Hey,
I
y'all,
get.
but I'm about to end this.
So I give you
Because
that. Okay, 2020, they burned some shit down.
Hey,
it
but
makes me think you're like angry or something. That's why
I
when you
know.
scream.
I
Hey, y'all, I'm about to end this because this is my main channel. I'm gonna end this.
All right.
You know, it was just one-on-one interview right there.
Yeah, I mean,
Everybody.
I can agree.
So I'll be back here tomorrow. We're gonna do a panel tomorrow on my second channel. So we're good, everybody.
So now Mark knows it's nice to be able to come over here and chat with us. We're not
Yeah,
scared.
everybody cool. Mark had a
You can
good
stay in the
conversation.
back, man.
For sure. It's just that, we live in a very divided country right now. So
Actually, we
I
don't,
would
Mark. We
really
actually
We
believe
go
a
back
lot of the
steady.
same stuff. We actually have a lot more in common than we have differences. It's just that we don't get to talk to each other. They try to keep us divided.
Yeah, Mo, I've been good tonight, Mo.
true.
Yeah, sure.
Bottom line is
You'd be
this, man.
surprised that a lot of us want the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Bottom line is this, and Mo, thanks for doing this. But bottom line is this, ladies and gentlemen: if you're gonna get involved in the history of America, whether you're black, white, green,
Yeah,
Hispanic,
yeah.
you have to make it your
Hawaiian.
business to find
Oh,
out.
why? Yeah, this nigga.
You have to find out who everybody is,
I want reparations.
from the president
John, shut up. Be like me.
to your U.S. attorney to your FBI. Listen to them when they speak. It's not just about the state level or the city. It's about you as an individual. What do you really know versus the history books? Half the history we read has been manipulated. They don't even teach the
For real.
history I grew up with in today's education when it comes to the young folks. They don't know shit about Malcolm X.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know nothing about Dr. King. They don't know nothing, man. And when you bring it up, they go, "Oh, I heard he was a radical." Who told them that?
Yeah,
You see what I'm saying? We don't educate ourselves. We don't do
yeah.
research. We listen to everybody else. Chances
Hey,
are we make mistakes. We're humans. We could be wrong. That's why conversations are important. Or we'll never
hey,
get
Hey,
anywhere.
RC, even our history books aren't even right.
Yeah.
They manipulate us because if you
man,
really go around the world, you
all
find
right,
out the history is different than
all right.
what they
We out,
say.
everybody. I see.